Welcome to Beyond the Needle, the aesthetics business podcast. I'm your host, Emily Ruse. I'm a former clinic manager turned digital marketing freelancer, and I've had the privilege of helping dozens of aesthetic practitioners across the UK and beyond grow their business. So I know firsthand just how challenging it can be to build a successful aesthetics practice in today's competitive market. Each week, I'm here to share real, actionable strategies and bring on expert guests to help you level up, attract more patients, and build a standout brand. Let's turn your passion into a thriving business together. Hi everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Beyond the Needle. So one of the most common things that aesthetic practitioners will say to me is that they hate being on camera. They find it really difficult to record content. They never know what to say. They know they need to do it, but I think it's an easy thing to procrastinate because if you don't enjoy something, you are more likely to push it down your very, very busy to-do list, especially when you're running a busy clinic and you're seeing patients and you have all of the other responsibilities to running a business. It's very easy to keep pushing that content creation down your to-do list and ultimately never do it, even though you know it's important and that you should be doing it. If you resonate with this, then this episode is for you. So today I'm going to be talking all about how to build your camera confidence, and most importantly, how to use that confidence to create engaging, high-impact Reels content that really resonates with your target audience. And let's be honest, showing up on camera doesn't come naturally to most people. It can feel very awkward, intimidating, and sometimes even cringeworthy watching yourself back on camera, especially when you're very new to it. But here's the thing, in the aesthetics industry, you are your brand. Patients don't just book treatments, they book you, and the fastest way to build that trust and connection with your audience is to show your face, share your expertise, and let your personality really stand out in your content. And there are a few things that people will often say to me that puts them off showing up in their content, and that is, things like, I'm not photogenic, I don't like the way I look on camera, I don't know what to say, I feel really self-conscious watching myself back. You could create a really great video that lots of people would watch and think, oh, that's amazing, that's really helpful. But we are our worst critics at the end of the day. So it's very common to film a video, watch it back, and then pick it apart and pick every flaw out of it, things that no one else would even notice or even think twice about. But because it's ourselves, we are going to be overly critical. People also say to me, I could speak to my patients all day about a particular concern or a particular treatment, but as soon as someone puts a camera in front of me, it's like all the information falls out of my brain. I clam up, I don't know what to say. I'll start talking and then I'll forget the next thing I want to say, and it's just a mess, and it'll take me 2 hours to create a 1-minute video. That is very, very common. And these are all common barriers that can hold you back from showing up on camera. But the good news is, confidence is a skill you can build, and creating engaging content is something that you can master with practice and the right strategies. In this episode, I am going to share why showing up on camera is essential for your business, practical tips to overcome camera shyness and help build your confidence, strategies for planning and filming reels that keep your audience engaged, how to let your personality stand out and connect authentically with your followers, and finally, how to evaluate and improve your content without being overly critical of yourself. So grab a notebook, because this episode is packed with actionable advice to help you stop overthinking and start showing up like the expert that you are. Let's dive in. So let's start by talking about why showing up on camera is essential for your business. Now, like I said a moment ago, in aesthetics, trust really is everything. So a lot of people who, especially when it comes to injectable treatments, this isn't something that they're going to decide overnight. It's going to take a lot of thinking, research, talking to people, maybe inquiring with different clinics or practitioners, and also in many cases, following practitioners online and watching their content over a period of time. Your patients are putting their appearance, their face, their confidence in your hands. These aren't little things. Before they even book a consultation with you, they will need to feel like they know you. They need to trust your expertise, feel comfortable with your approach, and connect with you on a personal level. And social media gives you the perfect platform to build that connection. Stock imagery, before and after photos, and even, your own photos if they're just of your clinic or your treatments, that alone isn't going to build that connection. People want to see the person behind the brand. They want to hear your voice, learn from your expertise, understand your approach, understand your ethics, and feel like they're getting to know you before they ever walk through your door. And there's one particular statistic that I feel like demonstrates the importance of this in a quite powerful way. And that is that according to a study, brands that use human-centric content, like videos featuring real people, see a 61% increase in revenue compared to those that don't. And that is huge. And I think that really goes to show just how important showing up in your content is. And if you are currently at a stage where you're not getting what you want out of your social media efforts, you're not seeing consistent leads and inquiries, you're not getting that brand awareness, you're not getting the engagement on your content, this is probably the reason why, because you're not showing up enough or you're not showing up in the right ways. But when you do, the difference that you see can be quite incredible. And also when it comes to content like Reels specifically, Instagram prioritizes content where the creator is front and center. So this isn't just about building trust with your audience and establishing yourself as an expert and helping stand out from your competitors. It's also about visibility. It's about working with the algorithm so that it pushes you out to more people who don't yet follow you. So think of showing up on camera as an investment in your business. The more your audience see and hear from you, the more likely they will be to trust you and therefore book with you. So the next thing I want to talk about is overcoming camera shyness. So if you feel awkward on camera, let me tell you, you're really not alone. For most people, it's not something that comes naturally. And even the most confident people can struggle with this at first. But the key is to kind of reframe your mindset and focus on making progress over time. It really doesn't need to be perfect. I think a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves when they're filming a video to get it right from start to finish and to click record, talk perfectly for 60 seconds about whatever it is that they're talking about, and not have any ums or ahs or stutters or whatever it is. And that's also what the editing process is for. A lot of my clients will send me videos where there are a lot of ums and ahs, or they might even pause and kind of sit and think for a minute about the next thing that they want to say. And that's absolutely fine. That's what the editing process is for. And you can cut all of those things out and have a perfect or a near perfect video at the end. But I also don't think we should be aiming for perfection, because we're never going to reach it. And therefore we won't be happy with the content that we end up with if that's what we're aiming for, because it is never going to be perfect unless you've got a camera crew who come in and film with you and then go away and edit it. It's not going to be perfect, and also it doesn't need to be. You know, you are a human being, and imperfection is relatable and it connects and it makes it seem more authentic to your audience. So don't put that pressure on yourself. And when you're starting to film more videos, it's something that feels scary and you want to put it off. I think it's easy to put it off when we put the pressure on ourselves to do too much. So my biggest piece of advice would be to start small, begin with short, simple videos, things that don't take too much thinking about, you know, like introducing yourself, talking a little about who you are and how you got into aesthetics and your favourite treatments to perform, and you know, what drives you, what's the most rewarding part of what you do, those kinds of things. A nice introductory video is quite simple. You don't need to think too much about it, because these are all things that are going to come quite naturally. Or answering a common patient question. Like I imagine a lot of patients will say, I'm really worried about looking fake or unnatural, or you know, people will know I've had something done. That's probably something that comes up a lot, and you have an answer to that you've said over and over again that comes to you quite naturally. Create a video about that. Or think about topics that you're very passionate about, because if you feel passionate about what you're talking about on camera, it will be much easier to record that video rather than trying to record a video about something that you know but you don't necessarily feel 100% confident in, but you're filming it because you know it's something that a lot of people search for online, you know, so it will be a good hook and a lot of people find it interesting. Don't put that pressure on yourself to record lots of those videos, create lots of those videos at the beginning. Start with topics that you feel very confident about, that you talk about a lot, and the more you practice, the more natural it will start to feel. Another thing you can do is talk to one person. So imagine you're speaking to a single patient, not an entire audience. Don't think about the fact that lots of people are going to be watching that video. Just imagine you're talking to a patient and what you would say if it was a patient sitting in front of you. And focus on the message, not yourself. So instead of worrying about how you look or how you sound, focus on the value that you're providing. Think about the impact your message could have on someone watching and how helpful that can be to somebody. Because at the end of the day, your audience are going to watch that video because it's something that they're interested in, or it's going to give them value. They're not going to be looking at it and picking apart how you look or how you sound or the fact that you might be a little bit nervous perhaps. They're just looking at it because they see you as the expert and you're giving them value, And that is the most important thing. So focus on that, not anything else. And as soon as you start putting out content and you get good feedback from people, and you will find that, you know, you will get feedback from people, you'll get feedback from family and friends, you'll get feedback from your patients who'll come in and they'll start saying, oh, I really love what you're doing on social media at the moment. And those things will fuel your confidence. So the sooner you start trickling out little bits and you start to get that feedback, the more your confidence will grow, and then you'll be able to create more content off the back of that. And finally, accept imperfection. Like I said earlier, you know, you really do need to accept that your videos are not going to be perfect. You don't have, you know, a professional Netflix camera crew coming in and recording with you. This is something that you're probably doing on your phone with a tripod and maybe even a ring light, you know, and you probably haven't had media training and it feels very new. It's not going to be perfect. And your audience aren't looking for perfection. They really, really aren't. If I could get like one thing in this episode across to people, it would be this. Please do not focus on trying to make it perfect. Your audience, they don't want perfection, they want authenticity. And a stumble or a pause makes you relatable, not unprofessional. It really helps to humanize you and seem, you know, a lot more relatable to your target audience. And if you really are nervous about recording a video, don't put the pressure on yourself to get it right first time. You could even record a few practice takes just for yourself. If you stumble, keep going. Like, don't keep stopping and starting again. Just keep going. And then watch them back. And it will help you get used to seeing yourself on camera and see where you might improve or what you might say differently. And then you'll find that each attempt becomes a little bit easier. So you might just need to film 1 or 2 practice takes just to kind of get the information out. And also after a couple of practice takes, you'll find that that topic starts to flow a lot better and a lot more naturally. So now that you're hopefully feeling a lot more confident with filming content, let's talk about creating reels that grab attention and keep your audience engaged. So there are a few things that you need to keep in mind when planning and filming reels. The first one is that you want to hook them in the first 3 seconds. So the worst thing you can do when filming reels is to start it like this. Hi, I'm Emily and I'm the owner of Emily Ruse Aesthetics. Today I'm going to be talking to you about dermal fillers. That's not engaging. You have 3 seconds to hook your audience in. You have to think about the fact that people are scrolling through their reels for you feed. I mean, that's not always going to be how they see your content. People might be scrolling through the home feed and they might already follow you. They know who you are already. So that's not going to hook them in. They might be seeing it suggested content on their home feed, or they might be seeing it in the Reels section as they're scrolling through and watching Reels. You have to give people a reason to stop scrolling and watch your content. Therefore, you need to grab their attention immediately by saying something that they are going to resonate with, that's going to spark something in their brain. And there are many ways that you can capture people's attention. You could use a question like, do your under eyes make you look more tired than you feel? Or you could address a common pain point that your audience have, a common problem that they're experiencing, for example. Here's why your skincare routine isn't working and how to fix it. Or speaking to a particular skin or aging concern that they have. For example, 3 things that are making your acne worse. Or if you want to combat lines and wrinkles, don't waste your time on these 3 things. Having a very clear and concise hook at the start of your reel that you say out loud during those first 3 seconds, but you also have displayed on screen for those first few seconds, will help you engage people much more effectively, and therefore you're more likely to get them to stop scrolling and watch that video. But if you're not having any hook at all, if you're just going into the video, if you're introducing yourself and saying, today I'm going to be talking about blah, 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 you've lost their attention. Like, you've not given them any reason to stop scrolling. They don't know what the video is about because you haven't told them. All you've said is who you are and what you're going to be talking about today. But by the time you start talking about that, you're probably 5 seconds into the video. Once you start thinking about your hooks more strategically and using them in your content, you will notice a big difference in the reach that your videos get. Another thing you should be doing is focusing on one clear message. So each reel should deliver one key takeaway. Don't try and cram too much information into the videos. Remember that these should be kind of no more than 90 seconds long. If you can get it around 60 seconds, that's even better, especially if you want to be reaching a lot of new people who aren't already following you. It takes a lot to get somebody who doesn't know who you are and hasn't built any trust with you and doesn't know if they're even interested in the messages that you have to say, it takes a lot to get that kind of person to stop and watch your video all the way through. So the shorter the better. But that doesn't mean that each reel you post has to be 20-30 seconds. As long as you're using a good hook and you're giving lots of value, there's no reason why you can't hold people's interest for a good 60 to 90 seconds. But just don't try and cram too much information into the reels. I see it a lot where practitioners are talking about something that might be quite complex, like jowls or nasolabial folds, or, acne. When it comes to concerns, there's a lot that you can say. You might want to talk about what causes that concern and the right treatments and the things that aren't going to work and the skincare they should be using. But you really don't need to be giving all of the information in one video. Try and think about how you can give the most value by saying as little as possible and keeping it quite concise. And if you have a lot that you want to say about a particular topic, break it down into multiple videos. For example, going back to jowls, you could do a reel about what causes jowls, and then you could do another video about the best ways to treat jowls non-surgically, and then you could do a video about the myths about treating jowls. So you can create multiple videos, and those can all be quite engaging and have quite engaging hooks. So really do think about that when you're creating your content. You also want to use an element of visual interest, so using captions as you're talking, on-screen text, like I say, a kind of hook at the beginning that will last for the first 3 seconds, quick cuts to keep your content visually engaging. So movement and dynamic visuals help hold attention. So if you can have things popping up as you're talking, that can keep your video quite engaging. Or just having little cuts where the video might zoom in and zoom out as you're talking. It just helps hold people's interest a bit more effectively, rather than just having one static video that they're looking at, which is the same from start to finish. And this is particularly important if your video is a little bit longer, so say it's kind of over 60 seconds. That is expecting a lot of people to watch that the whole way through. So the more you can hold their interest visually, the better. Another thing you can do is use trending sounds. So even over a talking video, you could have a trending sound either turned down really, really low or just turned off all the way on mute. But as long as you've put that trending audio onto your reel, even if it's muted, your video will still go under that trending audio sound. Now, trending audio isn't going to have the same impact that it would have done a few years ago. Trending audios often become overpopulated so much quicker now because we've got so many more people creating content. So it's not going to have that same effect. A few years ago, it was very easy to go viral from using a trending audio, but much less likely that that's going to happen now. But it can help. And I just think there's no harm in doing it. So you might as well add one because it will help optimize it a little bit more. And ending with a strong call to action. So encourage viewers to take the next step, whether that's booking a consultation, following you for more content like this, or DMing a specific word to learn more. So do think about that. I mean, if you forget, it's not the end of the world. Just make sure your caption has some sort of call to action at the end. But if you can add that call to action to the end of the video, it will help drive viewers to the next step more effectively and make sure that they're doing something before scrolling on to the next video. And if there's one more big tip that I can give you about this, it would be to batch record your reels to save time. So it's very easy to say to yourself, I'll just record reels in between my patients as and when I have a free moment. But often it doesn't quite work out as easily as that. Things are going to come up, or you're going to sit down and you're going to spend the entire time thinking about what it is that you're actually going to record and what you're going to say. And then before you know it, that time's run out and you haven't actually recorded anything. And it's very, very hard to stay consistent with your content if you're doing that. So I would say, if you can, set aside one day to film multiple videos per month, or half a day, or whatever it is that you need. But setting out some time where you have a couple of hours to batch record some content, and don't include planning the video content in that time. You want to go to that 2 or 3 hours or whatever it is that you've blocked out in your diary with a list of videos that you're going to film and, a kind of plan of what you're going to say in each of those videos. And then you can just focus that whole 2-3 hour time block on recording content. But you will find it 100 times easier to stay consistent with your content and stay consistent with showing up on your socials if you have videos batched ready to go. So the next thing that I want to talk about is letting your personality stand out. So one of the biggest mistakes that practitioners make is trying to sound too formal or professional on camera, and this can often lead to the videos coming across a little bit stiff or overly rehearsed. And like I said before, potential patients don't connect with perfect, polished performances. They connect with real people. So your personality is your greatest asset, and showing it authentically is what will make your audience trust you, like you, and ultimately book with you. It's going to be what helps you stand out from your competitors. It's going to be what helps people resonate with you. So there's a few things you should be thinking about to ensure your content feels natural, relatable, and uniquely you. So it might sound very simple, but using your natural voice. Don't try to sound, like we all have a telephone voice, don't we? But don't try and sound like somebody else or adopt a tone that doesn't feel genuine. Speak to the camera the same way that you would speak to a patient during a consultation. And that's often going to be kind of warm, approachable, and confident because you're really passionate and confident about what you do. Patients love seeing the person behind the brand. So let your natural communication style stand out. Don't try and sound overly professional or putting on a voice to try and sound more expert. Just be you, because it really does come across if you're trying to be someone different. So when you're recording your videos, imagine you're speaking directly to one of your favourite patients rather than a camera. Picture their face and how you would talk to them if they were sitting across from you. Another quite simple but powerful thing you can do is kind of bring stories into your content, because stories humanize your brand and they create an emotional connection. So you could talk about why you love what you do, what inspires you to pursue aesthetics, what motivates you every day, problems that you faced on your own business journey. These things are all going to help humanize you as brand. And bringing patient stories into it as well. So if you're talking about a particular treatment, you could, like for example, I have a client who has shared a particular patient story a few times within her content. It always really resonates with people, especially when she backs it up with the before and after photos. And this particular patient came to see this practitioner on her 39th birthday, and she said, I want you to take 10 years off my face before my 40th birthday. And she had aged quite significantly in her 30s because she had spent a lot of time abroad. Her skin had a lot of sun damage. She had like accelerated signs of aging. And the difference that this practitioner was able to make to this particular patient in a year with the right treatments and skincare was quite phenomenal. And I think that relates to a lot of people who are kind of hitting their 40s or their 50s and they've spent a lot of time in the sun, they've maybe not done the right things for their skin over the years, or they've just woken up one day and, maybe they're going through perimenopause and they're starting to see accelerated signs of aging and they feel like they suddenly look a lot older, or they look tired, or people keep asking them what's wrong because their face doesn't really reflect what they're feeling on the inside. I think those things really relate to people. So if you can bring in stories of patients who have said those kinds of things and how you've helped them in their own journey, those are things that people are going to relate to. And it's going to just bring an extra layer of relatability to your content. And also sharing your own journey, so sharing stories of your own struggles with skin issues or your confidence or problems that you went through post-pregnancy or in perimenopause. These things can all make you more relatable to your target audience. And also don't forget to smile. Again, it's such a simple thing, but I think when you're concentrating really hard on what you want to say on camera, it's really easy to have that concentration face on instead of that warm, approachable, smiley face that you might have when patients walk into your clinics. And smiling will obviously make you more approachable and help viewers feel a bit more of an instant connection with you. So remembering to smile at the beginning of your video and at the end will leave a warm, lasting impression. So don't forget to do that. Now, one of the things I said at the beginning of this podcast is that people often say to me that their brain goes blank when they hit record. This is the most common thing people say, and it's something that I don't experience as much anymore because I've developed my confidence on camera over the years. Like, I'm doing this podcast, and that is, or it was at the start, just as scary as showing up on camera. And obviously I have to talk and flow for a lot longer than I would a typical Instagram video. So it's definitely a skill that you have to kind of develop over time. And I think this is something that puts a lot of people off recording videos, because a lot of people will say to me that it takes them 2 hours to film a 60-second video. And that's quite extreme, but it's common. And I've definitely experienced that before. And even people who record videos every day will still experience an element of this from time to time. But if you're really struggling with creating video content because your mind just goes blank every time you hit record, there are a few things that you can do. So the first thing you could do is use a teleprompter app. So teleprompter apps are really, really good tools for keeping you on track, especially when you're covering a lot of information and there's a lot that you want to say within the video. So there's a few different apps you can download. One that I've used myself is called BigVu, so BIGVU, and then there's also just teleprompter. They display your script on screen while you record. So what you would need to do is, before you start recording your videos, is kind of write a script outline of what you're going to say, embed it into the app, and then hit record. It records the video within the app, and the script will kind of come up on the screen as you're talking. You can adjust the speed of the script and the size of the text, etc, etc, but it will help you remember what to say and keep your videos flowing better if you do really struggle with that kind of brain blank when you go to record. But what I would say is that you really need to use them wisely, and if you do want to use them, I would use them while you get more confident with speaking to camera, and then try and move away from them eventually, because it's very hard to use them and really look genuine. So I have noticed that a lot of people that use these teleprompter apps can sound quite robotic. You know, reading word for word can make your delivery feel stiff and a little bit unnatural, and it is therefore much harder to create that connection with your audience, because it really does come across like it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like it's just flowing out of the person, and your expressions aren't the same as they would be if you were just talking naturally to the camera. I would, if you can, just treat the teleprompter as a guide and then glance at it for prompts rather than relying on it entirely for the whole video from start to finish. Another thing you can do if you are going to use it from start to finish for the video is, when you're preparing your script, write like you speak. So use short conversational sentences that really feel authentic to your tone, as if you were speaking out loud. Avoid jargon, avoid overly formal language, and avoid AI as well, because, you know, I think I will do an episode at some point on AI, but I scroll through Instagram now and it feels like everyone is just using ChatGPT for their content, and it really does show. Like, there's a lot of things that really scream ChatGPT, and if you're writing notes and putting it through AI and asking them to write you a script, it isn't going to sound like you, and it is going to sound very stiff and unnatural. I mean, absolutely, you could use it to kind of refine something that you've written, but you still want to be editing it and making sure that it sounds like you, and that it's conversational, and that it's short, and that it's written like you would speak, because otherwise it's just not going to connect with people. It's going to really come across as scripted, and yeah, that's not going to connect with anybody. And I would also read whatever you've written. If you've written a script, read it out loud before filming to get really comfortable with the flow of it, and just practice it a few times. Highlight or underline key phrases that you want to emphasize, and that's just going to help your delivery feel a little bit more dynamic and engaging. Another thing you can do if you don't want to use a teleprompter app is break your content into smaller chunks. So outline the ideas that you want to cover in your video and think of that as more of a roadmap, so that you've got a plan that guides you in what you're going to talk about without overwhelming you. And film in sections to tackle one point at a time. So, you know, a lot of people put pressure on themselves to record a perfect video from start to finish without any stutters, ums, ahs, or forgetting what they want to say. And that can be a lot of pressure. So you could break your video down into kind of 3 or 4 chunks and tackle one at a time. So first record your introduction, then record your first point, pause, check your notes, move on to the next section, and repeat. And this can help make filming a little bit less daunting and gives you that flexibility during editing. So, you know, you don't even need to stop recording. You could just hit record and then have your notes on your lap in front of you, record your introduction, pause, look at your notes, think about what you're going to say in the next part, record that, then pause again, look at your notes, and you can clean all of that up in the editing process and take out all of those pauses and those times spent looking at your notes, and you will get a video that just flows really nicely from start to finish. And if speaking to the camera feels too intimidating at first, start by recording voiceovers. This is something that I recommend to clients a lot, but voiceovers let you focus solely on what you want to say without worrying about your facial expressions, your body language, and it's often less daunting than sitting looking at a camera. There are multiple ways you can use voiceovers. You could have little clips of a particular treatment or multiple treatments put together, a patient transformation, so where you've got a patient that's come into the clinic, maybe you've got videos of them walking into the clinic, you marking up their face, you treating them looking in the mirror. you could put all of that together and do a voiceover over the top. Or you could do, I have a client that creates really great voiceover reels by marking up different areas of their face. For example, we might do a video about different areas of the face that you can treat with muscle relaxing injections that you might not expect. So the video content is them looking at the camera and kind of marking up the different areas of their face and kind of indicating by pulling upwards or pulling downwards or whatever it might be what treating that area is going to do. And then we edit it all together and she does a voiceover over the top, and she will start with a hook. For example, 3 ways we can treat the face with anti-wrinkle injections that you might not expect. First is by lifting the eyebrow, you know, blah, 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 blah. And that's quite a nice way that you can create a really visually engaging reel with your voice, but it's not talking directly to camera. And I think voiceovers are a great way to practice speaking clearly and confidently while gradually getting used to the sound of your own voice. And then once you're comfortable with voiceovers, transitioning to face-to-camera content will feel less daunting. To take that up a level, you could try green screens. So green screens can be really visually engaging content. And I think one of the most awkward parts of filming can be staring directly at just your own face or the camera without kind of anything going on around you. But having a green screen behind you can help kind of shift your focus and make filming feel less intimidating, because you've got something to be kind of referring to, and you've got a way to use your hands because you can like point at things in the green screen and you're looking at that rather than just looking at you. So there's lots of ways that you can use green screens. You could have a green screen of a before and after photo of a patient, and you could be talking about, you know, why this patient came to you and what you did to help them overcome their concerns, the impact this has had on them. You could have a video of something that you've pulled off of social media or of an unsafe practice or something that you don't agree with in aesthetics, and you could be talking about, you know, why this practice is unsafe or why you don't agree with it and what's happening here, that kind of thing. You could have a green screen of an article. So there's always lots of articles that are relevant to aesthetics, you know, undercover investigations that have been done in clinics where people are treating unethically or dangerously. You know, you could have an article about a celebrity who's spoken out about treatment, bad experience they've had or a positive experience they've had, and kind of give your take on it. There's lots of ways that you can use that, but it's a nice way to transition to face-to-camera videos, and it makes the content look a little bit more engaging and grabs people's interest. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is how to record high-quality videos on your phone. So a lot of people say to me, do I need to invest in a professional camera for my reels? And I don't believe you do. If you're creating content for Instagram, you don't need to be using a professional camera for that. I think as long as you've got the right lighting and the right setup, your videos can look great just recorded on your phone. And I am a big believer that often overly professional content doesn't connect as well with your audience as more authentic content that's just filmed on your iPhone. You know, if a lot of the videos are really kind of overly polished and very professional looking, it just doesn't connect with people as much as a video filmed on your phone. And people often say to me, oh, a reel that I put together in 10 minutes did so much better than my other content that I've spent hours on. And like, it's often because that comes across more authentically to people, and that's what people want on social media. So don't feel like you need to invest in high quality camera devices to film great content. You know, the best thing you can do is to prioritise good lighting. That can really make or break your videos. So natural light is your best friend here. So film facing a window where you can. I know that's a lot harder in the UK a lot of the year when the days get darker a lot quicker, but do try and film in front of a window where you can. And if natural light isn't available, or even if natural light is available, having another light source can really help to just give your videos a little bit more of a polished feel and to help you kind of look your best and therefore feel more confident as you're filming yourself. So you could use a ring light here. I myself have moved away from ring lights over recent years. You know, they're often cheap, so the lighting isn't the best, and I invested a lot of money in a ring light a couple of years ago, which I just really didn't like how it made me look. I felt like it kind of showed all of the flaws on my face, and therefore I wasn't happy with the videos I was creating. I more recently invested in a good softbox, so a good professional light with the softbox for my videos, and a backlight that goes behind me which if you've looked at my Instagram content, you'll be able to see. So my recent Instagram content where I'm talking to camera. So the way that I film my own videos is I sit in a dark room. I don't have any overhead lighting because that can often create shadows that make you look tired. I have the curtains shut, and then I have my professional light on. My professional light is in a softbox, and that is the only light source I have on me. So that faces me. It's quite big, but softboxes can really kind of evenly illuminate your face and make your face look a lot more kind of, it gives it a little bit of an airbrushed look, and it's a completely different feel to a ring light, but it does, in my opinion, look 100 times better. So that's the only light source I have on me, and then I have a backlight behind me, a golden light, which lights up the wall behind me to create a little bit of depth between me and the wall, and just gives the video that extra kind of polished feel. But it doesn't come across too overly professional or polished because at the end of the day I just film it on my phone. But the lighting makes a huge difference to a video. So this is where I put my time and energy if you're looking to create better videos. And then obviously you want to use a tripod or a phone stand to keep your camera steady. You know, you can get those really cheaply on Amazon. So do use the rear camera on your phone where you can, because this is better quality than the front facing one. And position your phone at eye level to create a kind of natural flattering angle. Make sure your face is in the center of the frame and leave a little bit of space above your head for balance, but you don't want too much white space in the video. Obviously you can crop this down afterwards in the editing process. Don't sit too close to the camera, but also don't sit too far away. So you'll want to aim for a distance where your head and shoulders are visible, but not too much of your lower body. And this kind of angle will feel more professional and less in your face. So audio is an important element too. In fact, this is just as important as having good visuals. So you'll want to film in a quiet space, avoid echoey, noisy environments, and if you can, invest in a clip-on microphone for a little bit more of a clear, professional sound. This can make a big difference, and you don't need to spend loads of money on a microphone. You know, there's some great ones on Amazon. You know, read reviews, find a Bluetooth one that will just connect up with your phone, and you can always upgrade it later on down the line if you want to, but it can just help make your videos sound a little bit more refined. And one of the most underrated tips I can give you is to clean your lens. So many people forget to do this or don't even think about doing this when they go to record content, but you know, if you think about it, we're picking up our phone a lot throughout the day. We're making phone calls, we're touching our phone a lot, we're leaving fingerprints on our camera by doing that. You know, we're chucking it into our bag and it's touching things in there. And unless you wipe your lens, you'll probably find when you go to edit that video that it might look a little bit smudgy or a bit smeary. So do give it just a quick wipe before filming. It can make a huge difference. And don't over edit your videos, you know, just make sure that it flows really nicely from start to finish. Like I said, you could have things popping up while you're talking, have some clear captions as you're talking as well, and a good written hook at the beginning that lasts for the first few seconds. But don't try and overly edit your video or add in tons of effects or transitions, because this can distract from your message. As long as you're giving great value in your video, that will do well. You know, I've had a client recently who filmed a video on their phone of them talking to camera. They didn't film it in their normal clinic space because they were away. We didn't do anything fancy in the editing process. It just had a good hook at the beginning and some captions as he was talking, and it currently stands at over 1 million views. So it just really goes to show that people want to see a good message, they want to see value. It doesn't need to be this mega amazing professional video with loads of transitions and loads of things popping up and loads of things for them to look at. You know, it just needs to be a video that's packed with value, that's going to be helpful to people, that's got a good hook that grabs their attention. That is really the main thing that your reel needs to have. And lastly, I feel like I've talked so much in this episode, but the last thing I will say is to keep evaluating and improving your content. So no one is amazing on camera straight away, and that's absolutely okay. But the key is to reflect regularly on your content and look for ways to improve. So watch them back and ask yourself, does this feel authentic? Is my message clear? Am I giving value to my audience? Check your analytics. So, you know, once a month, once every couple of months, just have a little look through your content and work out which reels have performed best and which reels got the most reach, which reels got the most engagement, which reels got the most new followers, what topics or formats tend to resonate most with your audience, and also ask people for feedback. So you could ask for, a trusted friend or family member, or even your audience, to give any feedback on what they loved about your content and what they feel could be improved. That can be quite helpful because, like I say, often we look at our own content in a very critical way and we pick up things that no one else would ever consider. So getting some real authentic feedback from your audience will often help you see your content in a different light and just help you refine it a little bit better moving forwards. But the most important thing is that you're showing up and you're connecting with your audience on a regular basis. Building camera confidence and creating reels isn't about being perfect, it's about being present, authentic and consistent. And with the right practice, the right mindset and a clear strategy, you really can turn your reels into a powerful tool for building trust, growing your audience and attracting the right patients to your clinic. And if you found this episode helpful, I'd love to hear from you. I've had a few people message me on Instagram recently telling me about episodes that they've enjoyed as well as topics that they would find interesting. And I always love to hear from you. So never hesitate to reach out, and don't forget to subscribe to Beyond the Needle for more tips and strategies to grow your aesthetics business. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.